Hello, my dear friends. Something is happening to a specific group of people right now. Not to everyone, not even to most people, but to a quiet, scattered, often isolated group of souls who have spent their entire lives feeling like they came from somewhere else. Like they landed in this world with a purpose they could feel but never quite name. Like they were waiting without knowing exactly what they were waiting for. That waiting, many believe, may be coming to an end. There are those in spiritual communities who speak about a moment they call the solar flash. A surge of cosmic energy of such magnitude that it does not simply pass through the atmosphere of this planet. It passes through its people, through their nervous systems, through their consciousness, through the very frequency at which their souls have been vibrating since the moment they arrived in this world. And when it comes, they say, not everyone will experience it the same way. Some will barely notice. Life will continue much as it always has. The ordinary rhythms of getting and spending and surviving and forgetting will roll forward without interruption. But for others, for the ones who have been quietly carrying something within them that the world has never quite had language for, the solar flash will be something else entirely. For them, it may be the moment everything finally makes sense. And for some of them, it may be the moment they are called to leave. Before you dismiss that, stay with it for a moment. Because what the Pleiadians and many ancient traditions describe when they speak of Lightworkers leaving is not what most people assume. It is not death in the ordinary sense. It is not loss in the way grief is loss. It is something that requires a completely different framework to understand. And by the end of this transmission, that framework may change the way you see everything, including yourself. The idea of Lightworkers is not new. It exists in various forms across nearly every spiritual tradition that has ever grappled seriously with the question of why certain souls seem to be made differently. Why certain people feel too much, sense too much, care too deeply and too persistently about things the world around them seems perfectly comfortable ignoring. In the Pleiadian teachings, and in many related streams of cosmic wisdom that have reached human consciousness through channels that conventional understanding has not yet found a way to fully map, Lightworkers are described as souls who volunteered, who chose, at a level of awareness far beyond ordinary human decision-making, to incarnate into the dense, heavy, often painful frequency conditions of this planet, not because they were required to, but because they understood something that required understanding from the inside. That the world could not be shifted from the outside alone. That the transformation of human consciousness, the movement of an entire species from a frequency organized around fear and separation and forgetting towards something genuinely, measurably, profoundly different, could not be accomplished by beings observing from a comfortable distance. It required presence, the willingness to step into the density, to feel it fully, to carry within it a frequency that did not belong to it, and to hold that frequency steady, year after year, decade after decade, often without recognition, often without understanding, often without even the small comfort of knowing that what they were doing had any effect at all. If any part of this feels familiar to you, stay here. Because what comes next is specifically for you. The solar flash, in the understanding of many who have studied the deeper currents of cosmic and spiritual teaching, is not simply a physical event. It is not merely a matter of solar science, though the science is extraordinary in its own right. It is the outer expression of something that has been building for a very long time at a level of reality that the instruments of ordinary perception cannot directly measure. It is the culmination of a process that began, in some traditions, thousands of years ago. A process in which the conditions for a fundamental shift in human consciousness were gradually, painstakingly, often invisibly assembled, in which certain souls agreed to come and hold light in the darkness long enough for the conditions to ripen. in which the accumulated intention of countless individual awakenings, small, quiet, often private moments in which one person after another chose something real over something comfortable, build toward a threshold. A threshold that many believe is now very close. The solar flash, in this understanding, is not something that happens to a passive humanity. It is something that humanity, through the choices of its awakening members, has been drawing toward itself. An invitation that was responded to long before most people were aware there was anything to respond to. And the response, the Pleiadians say, is nearly complete. But here is where something shifts in the transmission. Here is where what the Pleiadians describe becomes something that requires careful, honest, open attention to fully receive. Because they say that when the solar flash arrives, not all light workers will remain. Some will stay. Many will stay. They will stay because their work here is not finished. Because the world that emerges after the flash will need people who understand what happened. People who can help those who are confused or frightened or overwhelmed by the magnitude of what they are suddenly experiencing. People who have already done the inner work and can serve as anchors, as guides, as living demonstrations that the territory of higher consciousness is safe and navigable. Their work, in many ways, will be just beginning. But some, the Pleiadians describe, will choose to lead, not through catastrophe, not through illness or accident in the ordinary sense, but through a kind of graduation, a completion, the fulfillment of a contract that was made before this lifetime began, a recognition at the level of the soul that the specific task they came to accomplish has been accomplished, that the frequency they carry, the light they held, the work they did in the quiet and the ordinary and the often overlooked corners of this world has served its purpose, and that it is time to return. This idea may feel uncomfortable, even frightening. The loss of people we love, whatever form it takes, is genuinely painful, and the Pleiadians do not minimize that pain. They honor it. They say that grief is not a failure of spiritual understanding. It is the evidence of love, and love, in any frequency, is never wasted. But they want you to understand something about what leaving actually means in this context. These souls are not gone. They are not erased or extinguished or lost to some void. They are returning to the fuller version of themselves that the density of this incarnation required them to compress. They are returning to the awareness, the freedom, the expansiveness of consciousness that they set aside, willingly, lovingly, with full knowledge of what the setting aside would require, in order to be present here, in this density, for exactly as long as was needed. Their departure, in this understanding, is not a tragedy. It's a triumph. It is the soldier returning home after a long and difficult mission. The artist finishing a work that required everything they had. The teacher whose students have graduated and no longer need the classroom. The work is done, and the soul knows it. And the knowing, when it comes, is not frightening. It is, in many descriptions of those who have stood at this threshold, the most profound sense of completion and rightness that consciousness is capable of experiencing. But what does this mean for those who remain? This is the question the Pleiadians press most urgently toward. Because those who remain, those whose work here continues into the new frequency, are not simply bystanders to what happens next. They are not observers of a transformation that occurs around them while they stand unchanged. They are the transformation. The world that emerges after the solar flash will not be built by institutions or technologies or political systems. It will be built by the inner landscape of the people who inhabit it, by the quality of awareness, the depth of compassion, the genuineness of connection that the awakened souls who remain choose to embody in their daily lives. This is not an abstract spiritual concept. It is the most practical thing the Pleiadians communicate. Because every choice you make, right now, in this ordinary moment, in the specific circumstances of your specific life is shaping the frequency of the field. Your presence or your distraction, your honesty or your comfortable pretending, your genuine compassion or your reflexive judgment, your willingness to face what is real in yourself or your continued preference for the familiar comfort of looking away. All of it matters. All of it contributes to what the world that follows the solar flash will actually be made of. The light workers who are leaving have already made their contribution. It is complete. It is real. It will ripple forward in ways that neither they nor anyone still incarnate can fully trace or measure. Their presence here, however brief or long, however quiet or visible, was not in vain. Not a single moment of it. But for those who remain, the contribution is ongoing, and the solar flash, rather than completing their work, intensifies it, clarifies it, removes the interference that made it difficult to perceive clearly what the work actually was. And the work, for those who remain, is this: to be so genuinely themselves that others are given permission to be genuinely themselves. To carry enough light that those emerging from confusion and fear into the disorienting brightness of a new frequency have something to orient toward. To demonstrate, in the living texture of their actual daily choices, that the frequency of love is not a philosophy, but a practice. Not an aspiration, but a way of being that is available right now, in the most ordinary moments of the most ordinary days. This is not a small thing. It is, in the Pleiadian understanding, the most important work any being in any dimension can engage in. And if you are here, receiving this transmission, there is a reason. Not because you were selected by some cosmic lottery, not because you are special in a way that excludes others, but because something in you resonates with what is being described here. Something in you has always known that the world could be different. That the suffering that seems so fixed and permanent is not, in fact, the final word on what human life is capable of. That underneath the noise and the fear and the accumulated weight of everything humanity has been carrying, there is something extraordinary waiting. Something that the solar flash, in its rising, may finally allow to emerge. You have felt this your whole life. The sense that you came here for something. The persistent, unshakable, often inconvenient certainty that this world matters and that what you do in it matters, and that the gap between what is and what could be is not just a source of sadness, but a call. A call that is now, many believe, approaching its fullness. Whether the light workers who leave do so before the flash or after, whether you are one of those who remains or one of those who completes their work and returns home, the Pleiadians want you to know something that they say is true regardless of the timing or the fool. You were never here by accident. Not one day of it. Not one seemingly ordinary moment of a life that may have looked from the outside like nothing particularly remarkable. Every moment of sensitivity that felt like too much. Every moment of caring that felt unrequited. Every long night of questioning what you were here for and whether it was making any difference. Every small, quiet, invisible choice to be a little more honest, a little more present, a little more genuinely yourself. All of it was the work. All of it was the light. And the solar flash, when it comes, will reveal in the fabric of this world exactly where that light landed. Exactly what it changed. Exactly how the darkness was different because you moved through it carrying what you carry. You will see it then. If you have not already begun to see it now, and whether you see it from this side of the threshold or the other, what you see will be the same thing. That it was worth it. That it mattered. That the light you carried, in whatever form and for however long, was never diminished by the darkness it moved through. Was in fact made more visible by it. This is what the Pleiadians most want you to carry forward from this transmission. Not fear of what is coming. Not grief for those who may be leaving. Not anxiety about whether you are doing enough or being enough or understanding enough. But this, A simple, steady, unshakable recognition. You are part of something real. Something that has been unfolding longer than this lifetime and will continue longer than you can currently perceive. Something that the solar flash is not ending but revealing. Not concluding but illuminating. The darkness is part of the story. The leaving is part of the story. The staying is part of the story. And the light that some carried quietly for decades in a world that rarely noticed and often dismissed. That light is now, finally, approaching the moment when it can be fully seen. You are not too late. You are not too small. You are not too ordinary. You are exactly who was needed in exactly this moment, doing exactly what you were always here to do. And the solar flash is coming, not to end anything, but to finally, fully, irrevocably reveal what was always already here. This content is offered for spiritual reflection, symbolic interpretation, and personal insight only. It is not presented as scientific fact, medical advice, or a prediction of real-world events. The narration in this video is generated using artificial intelligence voice technology. Please use your own discernment and personal judgment when engaging with this material.